Hi, my name is Scott Candell. I'm an attorney. I practice out in California, and we specialize in medical marijuana law. The purpose of today is to walk you through the crazy world of medical marijuana. This is geared for patients who are new to this, patients who maybe have not used medical marijuana before, are new to the system, because there's still a little bit of a taboo, because we've had so many generations of just say no to drugs, marijuana is bad. Sometimes it's hard to find resources of how to use medical marijuana and to answer your questions. Medical marijuana is now used, it's legal in 18 states plus Washington, D.C. It's used for, I'm going to say 50 different conditions at this point. Doctors are getting more comfortable recommending it because they're realizing it has a very low toxicity, meaning nobody's going to die from it. And it's being used for a wide range of illnesses. Things we're commonly accustomed to, cancer, anorexia, glaucoma, arthritis, to some of the newer ways it's being used, things like bipolar disorder, MS, Crohn's disease, and like I said, there are tons of them. That's not going to be the focus of this class. On the website, which is worldofcannabiz.com, and it's Cannabiz with a Z, there are going to be classes offered which are taught by doctors, which will go through all the different ailments that it helps. We'll talk about how it helps, the different cannabinoids, how they interact with your body, just to help people feel comfortable with medical marijuana so they can make a decision about whether they actually want to use this as a medicine or not. Today's class is really just to help you understand the basics, walk you through the process, and answer some common questions that people have about medical marijuana. Okay, so the first one is, if medical marijuana is really a medicine, why can't I get it in a drugstore? You know, I should be able to go to CVS or Walgreens with a prescription and pick up my medicine there like I do any other medicine. And the answer is because marijuana is different in the sense that while it is legal under state law in these 18 states that I mentioned, it is still illegal under federal law. Under federal law, it is still a Schedule I drug, which means the federal government has refused to acknowledge that marijuana has any medicinal value. And as such, it would be illegal for a doctor to write a prescription for it, because doctors can't prescribe Schedule I drugs. Secondly, it would be illegal for a drugstore to sell it, because a drugstore cannot sell a Schedule I drug. So the way the states have gone around this is to say, well, a doctor doesn't write a prescription, he just recommends it to you. Okay, and there's sort of an alternative universe where you can get the medicine not in a drugstore, so it's not regulated by the FDA, but you can still get it with your doctor's approval. The next question people have is, well then, if it's illegal federally, am I going to get in trouble? I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to use an illegal drug. I've never broken a law in my life. Can I still do this? And the answer is yes. The answer is the federal government has said on several occasions they are not interested in prosecuting patients who are using marijuana for their medical condition in states where they're allowed to use it. They have many more important things to do with their time and resources, and they really just don't care. Okay, so from what they've said, it feels fairly certain they're not going to come knock down your door because you have cancer and you're using marijuana to help you with the symptoms of the chemotherapy. That people with medical conditions that are using it for personal use are not going to be bothered by the federal government. So how does this all work? Well, you go to your doctor and the doctor gives you this thing called a recommendation. Now since this is state law, it works differently in all states. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how it works in California, and each state is very similar, but there are some subtle differences. Some may actually give you a state card, some may just let your doctor's recommendation be enough. So you should check and understand what your state rules are before you do this. So in California, what happens is you go to your doctor, he gives you a recommendation, which is a piece of paper, and it says, I recommend marijuana or cannabis, and I'll use these two terms interchangeably because they both mean the same thing. I'm going to recommend cannabis as medicine for my patient's condition. It doesn't describe what you have because that's private between you and your doctor. So now you have this recommendation, what do you do? First thing that people usually do is go on the internet. They say, where can I get my medical marijuana? And they'll find websites that have a list of places, usually sorted by zip code, so you can find one that's close to you. On the website I mentioned, worldofcannabiz.com, they have the same thing where you can put a zip code in and it'll tell you the closest one to where you are. So you do that, you find one that's close to you. Now, these are divided into two categories sometimes. Ones that you actually go to and ones that are what are called delivery services, meaning that they can deliver it to your house. You can actually get marijuana delivered to your home. Now, for people who are not able to get to the dispensary, whether it's because your illness, you can't get there, you can't drive, whatever it is, these are fantastic, because you can get your medicine without having to leave your house. If you are able to go to a dispensary, you probably should, at least the first time, so you can understand the big picture of what's going on, what's available, and what your choices are. So let's say you can get there, you get to the dispensary, and again, this is in California. First thing that they do is they want to see and make sure you're a real patient. So they ask you for a copy of your doctor's recommendation and your driver's license. And the reason is your recommendation doesn't have your picture on it, and they want to make sure that it's actually you. So you show them this, they verify you're a legitimate patient. The next thing they do is they say, okay, I need you to sign this form joining our group. Now, why does that happen? Well, here in California, we have collectives and cooperatives. Now, for purposes of this class, don't worry about the difference. Basically, they are the same thing where they're groups of patients that are allowed to help each other. And what that means is people are allowed to grow medicine for themselves and for other patients. And if they provide it to other patients, they can get reimbursed for their costs and expenses of growing it. So if you have your recommendation, you can grow medicine yourself. Of course, it's going to take you, 4 months in order to get a little clone up to medicine that's usable. It takes a lot of skill. It takes a lot of money. You have to invest in the lights and the electricity and all the nutrients, things like that. So most of the time, if you're a common person not familiar with this stuff, you go to a dispensary and have another person grow it for you who is familiar with it and who is good at it, and they can produce high quality medicine. So you go and you join this group because it's a closed group and you can only provide medicine to people who are part of your group. So you join the group, now you're part of the group, and now they let you inside. And basically what you're signing is it says, I'm joining this group and I am allowing other patients in this group to grow for me, to grow my medicine, to possess my medicine for me, and I'll come pick it up here and reimburse them for it. And it also says that you're not going to do anything illegal, like take the medicine and go sell it on a playground to kids or something that would violate the law. So you sign your agreement. Congratulations, you just joined the collective. So you walk inside and you look around and you feel like you just fell down a rabbit hole. Right in front of you are probably 20 jars about this big filled with marijuana. Okay, you look to one side and you see a refrigerator filled with marijuana-infused substances that are drinks. You have foods, you have brownies, you have cookies, you have lasagna, you have olive oil, you have ice cream, anything you can think of. You turn to the other side and you see clones. You see huge plants and little clones that they sell so you can grow your own marijuana. You look at the counter and they have concentrates. They have rubs that you can rub on your sore joints. They have tinctures that you can put under your tongue. Basically anything that you can imagine, most of these places have at this point. And the question is, what do you do? And it's very overwhelming, especially if you're new to this. So that's what I'm going to try to help you through. So the first thing that you want to decide is how do you want to ingest this medicine? And the choice is really that you can either smoke it or you can eat it. And when I say eat it, that includes drinks and anything that goes through your stomach, through your intestines, and is absorbed that way. Now, if you are new to this, that most of you are, your gut reaction is, I'd rather eat it because I eat things. I eat brownies anyway, so it's not going to be a big deal to eat a brownie. But I don't smoke. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke pot. So I don't want to smoke. I don't know how to roll a joint. It just seems very foreign to me. It's a completely natural reaction. However, it's probably not the best way. And let me explain why. Marijuana is a unique medicine. And one of the reasons is because you can self-titrate. And what I mean by that is when you smoke it, it's absorbed through your lungs, into your blood, up to your brain very quickly, in a matter of a minute probably. And what that means is you can find the exact dose that is right for you. Now, there are people that have bad reactions from using marijuana. The reason they have bad reactions in general is they have too much. Okay? If you are using marijuana and you are smoking it, you can get the exact amount. Now, if there are other medicines, any other medicine, let's say codeine, you go to your doctor and he writes a prescription for codeine. He says, take two of these pills 4 times a day. And the reason he says that is because that's the average amount for the average person. Well, nobody's really the average person. So it's not going to be the exact right amount for you. But you're not going to start shaving off the pills to get the right amount. You take them, and sometimes it's too much, and sometimes it's too little. But that's the best that we can do with modern medicine, with these shiny little pills that the pharmacies provide. However, with marijuana, you can have a little bit. So you smoke a little bit, and you feel how it makes you feel, and you wait. You wait 5 minutes, and you see how you feel. And you will feel, if you feel nothing, or you don't feel enough of the effect, in 5 minutes more, you have a little bit more. And you wait another 5 minutes to see how you feel. And you can keep doing this until one of 2 things happen. One thing is your symptoms will feel better. Your pain will go away, your nausea will go away, or you'll start to feel uncomfortable. Because marijuana does have a psychoactive effect that some people don't like. And if you're one of those people that don't like it, as soon as you start feeling that psychoactive effect, you stop. And it never gets to the point where it's really uncomfortable. So you can really find the exact amount that's right for you. And in almost all cases, you'll find that whatever your symptoms are, the pain, the nausea, whatever it is, will stop before you start feeling uncomfortable. Now, if you eat the marijuana, the problem is it takes about an hour and a half for you to feel it. Sometimes an hour, sometimes up to 2 hours. So you have to eat it, it goes through your stomach, your intestines, you digest it into your blood. It's a long process. And marijuana is very potent when you eat it. And once you eat it, it's too late, you can't undo it. So what happens is people will get a brownie, let's say. They'll say, I'm going to be conservative, I'm only going to have half. Or I'm only going to have a quarter. But inevitably, it's too strong, or it's stronger than they thought, and they start feeling uncomfortable. But there's nothing they could do because they've already eaten it. And when you eat marijuana, it lasts much longer. So now these people feel really uncomfortable for a number of hours, and they're just turned off from it. They say, I'm not going to try that again. That was just a bad experience. I don't like marijuana. I'm done. And that would be unfortunate because it might really be able to help that person's symptoms if they had the right amount. But it's very difficult to find the right amount when you actually eat it because you can't do this self-titrating. Now, I'll say there's one exception, and that is if you are having trouble sleeping at night and you have pain, let's say, and let's say the pain keeps you up, because edible marijuana lasts longer, you may be able to eat it before you go to bed, and it would last you the whole night. Where if you smoke it, it may last a couple hours. You may wake up every few hours with the pain and have to re-smoke it. So in that particular situation, eating it might be better, but I just want to caution you, it is stronger when you eat it, so be careful. Start with a little bit. It's better for you to have no reaction and say, oop, I had too little, tomorrow I'm going to try a little bit more, than to have too much and have a bad feeling and you don't like it. Now keep in mind, you're not going to die from it, but it's uncomfortable. And some people like that. A lot of people like that. People do it for fun. People are smoking and eating pot brownies, all the time because they like that. But there are people who don't like it, and you may be one of those people. And if that's the case, just be careful that you don't take too much. Okay, now the next question people usually have, well, isn't smoking bad for you? It's bad for your lungs. I was told smoking is terrible. And the answer is yes, you're right. Smoking in general is bad for you. When you light something on fire and you inhale the fumes, you're inhaling toxins. You're inhaling tar, you're inhaling carcinogens, and they're not healthy. They can cause bronchitis, aggravate asthma, whatever it is. So how do we deal with that? Well, the first thing to keep in mind is that you're not going to be smoking 2 packs of joints a day. So it's not the same thing as cigarettes in that aspect. But still, there are carcinogens and negative effects. So what the brilliant minds of the marijuana users have done is they've come up with a new invention, and it's called a vaporizer. And the way a vaporizer works is as follows. Marijuana basically is activated, or there are cannabinoids, and I don't want to get too much into the science, but there are the molecules inside the marijuana that are activated when they're heated. And they're activated at a temperature somewhere around, we'll say, 300 degrees. The marijuana actually catches on fire somewhere about 400 degrees. This is where it burns. So the theory of a vaporizer is if you can heat the marijuana above 300 degrees but below 400 degrees, in that little range there, okay, then you can activate the cannabinoids. You can inhale the vapors without inhaling the carcinogens caused when you actually burn the marijuana. And that's exactly what vaporizers do. And vaporizers, you can get a cheap one for probably 40 bucks. More expensive ones are a couple $100s. And the difference is the more expensive ones you plug in, they're much more sophisticated. And they have a little temperature setting, a gauge, so you can get it exactly where you want it to be. And you put the marijuana in, and when you breathe it in, you are basically just breathing in warm air. Okay, you're not breathing in smoke. You're not coughing. All you are is you're breathing in the vapors from the cannabinoids, which give you the medicinal effect without having the negatives of smoking it. The less expensive vaporizers work on a little different theory. What happens is you actually have a lighter that you use, and instead of, you have a pipe, but instead of lighting the marijuana, you're actually heating a stone. So you would have the cannabis here, then you would have a stone, and then you would have it where you light it. So you light it, the warm air heats the stone, the warm air comes down and heats the cannabis to somewhere between 300 and 400 degrees, and you're able to inhale the vapors. Now it's much less precise than the bigger ones, but they're also a little bit easier, a little bit more portable. You know, the plug-in vaporizers are, you know, they can be pretty big. The ones that you use are just this big, are kind of the pipe-sized vaporizers. So those are ways that you can smoke it without having the negative effects of smoking. And if you are going to be using this and you have concerns about inhaling the smoke, this is a great way to go. Now, another thing, just to be aware when you do use one of these vaporizers, or if you're rolling a joint, and you're going to get this at the dispensary where you're looking at all this stuff, they have something called a grinder. And what a grinder is, it's basically something that you open up, and it's got little spikes sticking out. It's made of plastic. It's $5. And the marijuana actually comes in, it's little flowers. You know, so you get little flowers about this size, but you can't actually put it in a vaporizer like that. So you put it in the grinder and just go like this, and it grinds it up, and it turns it into a fine powder so that you can put it into the vaporizer to use. It's also easier if you're going to be rolling a joint, you can put it in, and it again makes it a fine powder so it's easier to use. Okay, so now we're back at the dispensary, and we say, okay, I want to use, you know, smoked marijuana. I don't. Now you don't have to worry about this wall over here that has all the edibles. You don't have to worry about the plants. You're not growing clones. Now you can look at these 20 jars and say, okay, now what? Which of these 20 jars do I get my medicine from? So the next fork in the road is there's two basic types of marijuana. One is called a sativa, and one is called an indica. And they are from just different parts of the world originally. Now everything is a hybrid. There are no pure sativas or pure indicas. They're all mixtures, but they would have a concentration of one or the other. Or, you know, they'll say 80% indica, 20% sativa, something like that. In general, and I'm speaking generalities now, the difference is indicas will make you more tired, will make you more relaxed. They're better for nighttime use, things that, you know, symptoms that maybe pain relief, things like that. The sativas are more of a head high. They make you a little bit more energized, make you think more, and they're better for different conditions. So you need to think about what condition you have and which of those is going to be more appropriate for you. Now keep in mind, it's not an earth-shattering difference because none of them, as I said, are pure, and they're just more of one or more of the other, and you're going to get both in no matter what you get. But it would help you if you can think, I'm looking for something at nighttime, I'm coming from work, my back hurts, you know, I want something that's more of an indica base as opposed to a sativa base. Then you get to the next bridge, and the next bridge is based on the cannabinoids in it. And again, for simplicity, there are 70 cannabinoids. There are all other molecules that are active and have effects on you. But for the purpose of this video, let's just talk about the two most common ones. One is called THC, which stands for tetrahydrocannabinol. The other one is called CBD, which stands for cannabidiol. Okay, those are the two most prevalent molecules in marijuana. And the difference is THC is psychoactive and CBD is not. Otherwise, they have very similar properties. So if you can figure out what you are looking for, you can say, okay, I want something that's higher in CBD or higher in THC. Now keep in mind, we have only discovered CBD recently. In the past, since the 60s, marijuana growers have been trying to breed plants in order to maximize the THC, because that was considered better pot. If it got you high and it was quick and it was powerful, that was good stuff. Now we're realizing that CBD has a lot of medical qualities and a lot of people don't want to get high. So now growers are trying to create strains that are higher in CBD, and that's one of the avenues of the future. I think are going to be high CBD strains for people who don't want to get high, but they just really want it as medicine. So now you're looking at all this stuff on the shelf, and you talk to the person behind the counter, and you say, you know what I would like some medicine. Okay, I don't want the edibles. I would like some, they call it flowers sometimes, or they just call it the normal medicine. I would like a strain that is high in CBDs, and I would like an indica. And they'll say, okay, here's what we have. And they may say, this is our top shelf, middle shelf, bottom shelf. What they mean is expensive, mid-range, and cheap. And really what they mean is potent, middle potent, less potent. Sometimes what happens, and it's also a market thing where they may say, something comes in, they put it on a top shelf and nobody buys it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, starts getting a little stale, so it becomes middle shelf. Another 3 weeks goes to bottom shelf. So this is 2-month-old marijuana. There's nothing wrong with it. Maybe less potent, it may be now less popular, whatever it is. So you say, okay, this is what I'm going to get. You pick up your, they probably have a vaporizer there that you can pick up. They probably will have a grinder there you can pick up. And you get your medicine and you take it home. If you want to, a lot of these places have pre-rolled joints, if that's easier for you, and you don't mind the smoke, you can just do that. It's probably the easiest thing. You take it home. Okay, now it's time to try your medicine. And again, I'm assuming this is new to you, so I'm just going to walk you through a little bit, again, how to do this. So let's say you are using the vaporizer. You take your medicine, which is in a flower form, you put it in the grinder, mush it up, take it onto your hand, and then you put it into the little part in the vaporizer where the medicine goes. If it's a smaller one, you light it. Otherwise, you can just inhale it if it's one of the ones you plug in. You take a little bit of a breath, and then you breathe in air afterwards, just to dilute it a little bit, especially if you're new to this. Breathe in, breathe out, and wait. Wait 5 minutes. See how you feel. Okay? If it's a joint and it goes out, so what? You relight it. It's not a big deal. Okay? You do that, again, until one of two things happens. You either feel better or you start feeling uncomfortable. And either way, you stop. If you feel better, you say, great, I feel better. I don't need any more. If you start feeling uncomfortable, you say, you know what, I'm going to stop. And, it didn't help my symptoms and I feel uncomfortable. Maybe this isn't for me. And that's it. Yeah, and that's basically what I have to say about this stuff. On the website, which is worldofcannabiz.com, there is an area where there's a message board where you can ask questions to other people on the message board. There's an Ask the Experts question where you can ask questions to a doctor or an attorney or an accountant. And there's also a place where if you need a consultation where you can call and somebody's happy to talk to you about this stuff. As I said, there are also other classes that are much more advanced than this that will go into the details of the makeup of cannabis, what conditions it's good for, molecular structure, testing to make sure it doesn't have pesticides, anything that you can think of so that you feel comfortable and you can make an educated decision if this is right for you or not. Okay, thank you very much for watching this. And again, if you have questions, feel free to post it on the website, and good luck.
Thank you for participating. This has been a Cannabiz production.